Silent Seniors No More. Episode: Paying twice to use what we already pay for. Are recreation amenities becoming a luxury instead of a right? Residents are beginning to ask a serious question. If recreation is already included in our lot rent, why are seniors suddenly facing additional fees, insurance requirements, scheduling restrictions, and growing barriers just to use the facilities we already help pay for? And perhaps the bigger question: at what point does the community amenity stop being an amenity if residents can no longer realistically use it? Welcome to Silent Seniors No More, the podcast where residents speak openly about life inside manufactured home communities. Florida Chapter 723, Residents' Rights and the Growing Concerns Many Seniors Are Now Facing Across Florida. This podcast reflects resident experiences, public documents, public discussion, and community concerns. It is intended for commentary and awareness purposes only and is not legal advice. Today's episode focuses on something many residents say is quietly changing inside their communities: the cost, the control, and the accessibility of recreation itself. The community people believed that they were paying for. For decades, many seniors moved into Florida manufactured home communities believed they were paying for more than just a lot. They believed they were paying into an active lifestyle, recreation, friendships, dances, card clubs, dinners, golf, holiday parties, community gatherings, and social connection. The clubhouse just wasn't a building. It represented community life. For many seniors, especially widows, widowers, and residents living alone, these activities were not luxuries. They were emotional survival. They are purpose. They are connection. They are often the only thing permitting loneliness and isolation. And many residents believed those amenities were already included as part of the value of their lot rent. The changes that residents are now seeing. But residents across many multiple communities are beginning to notice changes, not all at once, but slowly and quietly. Facility rental fees are increasing. Deposits are becoming larger. Paperwork requirements are expanding. Insurance and policies are becoming introduced. And now many residents are hearing that the events with over 100 people are required liability insurance. Alcohol-related events may trigger additional coverage requirements. Ownership entities may need to be listed as additional insured parties. An activity scheduled too far in advance may no longer be guaranteed. For longtime residents and club residents, this creates enormous uncertainty because many community organizations traditionally plan entirety social seasons months ahead of time. Club presidents meet before the seasons begin to reserve dates, coordinate annual dinners, organize dances, plan veterans events, avoid scheduling conflicts, and prepare activities for returning snowbirds. That's how organized community life functions. Some residents are now asking, if events can't realistically be scheduled long term, how are clubs supposed to survive? And for seniors on fixed incomes, another question quickly follows. If recreation is already part of our lot rent, why are we suddenly paying again just to use it? What changed? That question leads many residents to another one: why now? Residents do not necessarily know exactly why these policies are changing, but many are beginning to speculate. Some wonder whether liability concerns are increasing, corporate legal exposure is changing, insurance pressures are rising, or whether prior lawsuits and settlements have caused ownership groups to become more restrictive. Others question whether communities may now be operating under tighter self insurance concerns. And while residents may not know the exact reason, they are absolutely noticing the results. Because community life itself feels different, more regulated, more restricted, more controlled, and more expensive. The self insurance angle. One of the strongest questions now circulating involves the possibility of self insurance or increased corporate liability exposure. Now, many residents may not totally understand what self insurance means, so let's explain it simply. In some situations, large corporations may choose to absorb portions of their own financial risk rather than relying entirely on outside insurance companies. And when organizations become more sensitive to liability exposure, rules often tighten, especially when involving alcohol, large gatherings, public events, accidents, injuries, or anything that could potentially create legal exposure. From a corporate standpoint, that may make financial sense, but residents are now asking another important question. At what point does liability protection begin interfering with the very lifestyle residents believe that they are paying for when they moved here? Because once every gathering becomes viewed primarily as a potential liability risk, the community life changes and the residents feel it. The question of equal standards. Residents are also beginning to ask another difficult question. Are all events being treated equally? Because many residents believe that appears to be a difference between resident organized activities and management approved activities. Questions now circulating include who receives flexibility? Who faces restriction? Who must carry insurance? Who gets easier approvals? Are standards applied consistently? Or are some residents encountering more barriers than others? And once residents begin believing rules are inconsistent, trust begins breaking down, especially inside communities people call home. Chapter 723 questions. Florida Chapter 723 governs many aspects of manufactured home community living. And while the law does not necessarily prohibit reasonable faculty rules or liability protection, many residents are now asking, are their restrictions reasonable? Are they equally enforced? Are they materially changing access to the amenities? And are residents still receiving the lifestyle they believed was included in their lot rent? Another powerful question residents are beginning to ask is this. Can amenities still be called amenities if residents can no longer realistically afford to use them? That is not just a legal question, that is a quality of life question. The human side of this story. This is the part that may matter most, because behind every policy discussion are real people. Seniors on fixed incomes, residents trying to keep clubs alive, volunteers trying to organize events, neighbors trying to create community, and many fear something deeper is happening quietly beneath all of this. That resident-run activities may slowly begin disappearing, not through direct bans, but through increasing costs, increasing uncertainty, increasing restrictions, and growing fear of liability. And once volunteers stop stepping forward, community life changes fast. The dances disappear, the dinners disappear, the veteran events disappear, the social connections disappear, and eventually the people begin retreating back into their homes. And many seniors, these activities are not luxuries. They are community, they are connections, they are quality of life. The bigger fear many residents don't say out loud. The deeper fear is not just about insurance or deposits or paperwork. The fear is that the culture of the community living itself may be changing, that clubhouses are becoming controlled facilities instead of gathering places, that residents are slowly losing ownership of the very social environment they helped to build, and that community life may eventually become something only a few people can afford to organize. This episode is not about opposing safety. It's not about attacking management or recreation departments. Most residents understand that liability and insurance concerns are real, but residents also deserve transparency, fairness, consistency, and honest communication about why these changes are happening. Because seniors should never feel like community life is slowly becoming financially inaccessible inside communities that they already pay to live in. If residents already pay for recreation through their lot rent, should they now have to pay again simply to use it? This podcast reflects resident experiences, public discussion, public documents, and community concerns regarding manufactured home park living in Florida. It is intended for commentary and awareness purposes only. It is not legal advice. Allegations and concern discussed have not necessarily been adjudicated by the court. And thank you for listening to Silent Seniors No More.